everybody have a chance to read the minutes of the public forum and the minutes of the last meeting?
Move to approve the minutes of the public forum and the last meeting as written.
Second. Moved by Amanda and second by Larry. All in favor? Minutes approved for both. Consent agenda. We need permission for clerk to pay insurance at time of billing, to pay utilities at time of billing, to pay utility incentive before the 25th of the month, pay theater bills when due, and to pay payment service network bills when due.
So, yeah.
Moved by Roger.
Second.
Second by Amanda. All in favor? Approved. Okay. Carol's not here. Move on to new business. Dan?
Okay, so we got a $2,500 Monsanto seed grant here a while back. I guess I'll ask you guys if we can spend that on hose and nozzles. Up to that amount at least.
Everybody agree with that? I don't know why not.
I can manage his.
I guess somebody want to make a motion to let them go ahead and spend the Monsanto money on fire hoses.
I'll move.
Moved by Larry.
Second.
Second by Roger. All in favor? Approved.
No other thing I had, we did 6 interviews with applicants, and we had one guy that, as soon as he read the bylaws, didn't want to be on the fire department anymore, so we went to 5 applicants. After we went through it, we wanted to see if Trevor Hill could be put on the fire department, if you guys all agree to that. I guess if you want names off of the other applicants and stuff, I'll have to go into executive session.
I think we need it.
I don't think we need that. I mean, that's up to you guys voting on who you think's going to fill the position the best. So, everybody in agreement that they hire Trevor?
Yep.
Or not hiring, but
Yeah.
put him on volunteer status.
It's dubious honor.
Kind of hiring.
Yeah. So,
That's all I have.
okay, good, thanks.
When's he gonna start coming to meetings and stuff soon? Send him in for paperwork.
Yeah, guys haven't been getting called out a lot this year.
That's
Is
good.
it wet?
Yeah, have you noticed the humidity's about as high as Arkansas is?
Yeah. Overly.
Wake up in the morning, it's 100% humidity out. Yeah,
That's a good deal.
humidity and rain, yeah.
Good deal for the city too. And he's been, like in the hard years, he spends a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. It's quite a commitment for the city to, to have him doing that. It's a good
Yeah.
thing, but when some of those years, that's pretty tough.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And last night too.
Okay, next item on there is RV park license fees.
So I handed this out. Mike and I kind of talked about it in our code. The highlighted part there, it doesn't really, it just says that the license fee as determined by the governing body. Since we've never had an RV park, we don't have one established. Down below is what we charge for mobile home park licenses. Mike and I both felt it would be maybe good to just be consistent with that, which would be for Zimmelman, for his would be the $40 because he's going to have up to three spaces. So we would probably need a motion to, I'm not sure, use the mobile home park license fees for the RV parks, something like that, if that's what you want to do.
Do you hear a motion to just follow the RV park license that we have now to deal with the...
You don't make that motion.
Okay, been moved by Cale, second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Okay, Saney Liquor license renewal.
And that's just what it is. It's for Charles M. Graves, doing business as Saney Liquor. It's a renewal. It will expire, when will it expire? It's 2 years. August 2nd, 2021. So it's a 2-year license, and he paid his $600 fee for that.
Anybody hear a motion to approve the license? Moved by Dara, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved. Okay, the Chris Lloyd trash waiver.
I'm hoping JR knows this property. I'm okay, very good. So it's Chris Lloyd, 1045 South Quincy. He says the property, the building is in use no more than 2 times per year in 2-week blocks.
It's that hangar, we just had the water service to that thing, and it fits our criteria.
That's South Quincy, I guess,
I
if it
think
shoots clear through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised at that too, I didn't realize that, but it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Right down the mixing strip and up to that area.
Right, yeah, he's not using that, so. Do you hear a motion to approve the trash waiver for Chris Lloyd? Moved by Roger, second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Okay, old business, the KMEA agreement.
We talked to Mike. He's traveling today, but I did talk to him this morning, and he has reviewed all of the documents and given his approval. He says everything looks good. If the council wants to adopt or sign the agreements with KMEA, as previously discussed, there is a resolution that will need to be passed tonight. I'll just read the top part. Resolution number 2019-7, a resolution of the City of St. Francis, Kansas, authorizing the execution of a power purchase agreement effective as of August 12, 2019, between the City of St. Francis, Kansas, and the Kansas Municipal Energy Agency relating to the purchase of electricity by the city from the Kansas Municipal Energy Agency for sale or use by the city, and making certain covenants and agreements to provide for the payment and security thereof, and authorizing certain other documents and actions in connection therewith. And there, I will, if you guys want me to, I'll send the documents out to you for review. I can't imagine anybody's going to want to read 50 pages, but you might. There's two original documents here that the mayor would need to sign, and then the resolution.
That's effective January 2020, or
2022, yes. And there's no cost associated to it. It's just basically locking in, we're joining the EMP2, and that we are also locking in that we will buy that power of that plant. So,
Doesn't it lock us into a price too?
yes. I'm not sure if this one does the pricing part, but this makes us join the group where we agreed to buy the power. The actual agreement, the price actually went down just a little bit on it, and he wasn't really concerned about that being locked in right away. I guess I would want to review which one we're doing, just to know if we're locking in the price before we do that, approve upon review, because I don't think the price lock is on.
Yeah, because when he was here, he said he thought it could go down a little bit, and if he thought it was going to go up, he would get a contract out to us right away.
Yep.
But he thought it was going to go lower yet, so.
And he had since called back and said it did go down, but it was a good time locked in. I don't know if this document got forwarded, this is the first I heard of. Mike's review was tonight with Flatley, it was out last week, so I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I think we know that's where we're going.
Mike looked at it.
Yeah. So I guess tonight all we need is to pass the resolution for sure, and then give approval for the mayor to sign.
Upon
Based on-
approval, please, yes.
Upon-
I would like to
approval by
review
mayor.
and find detail of what we're signing myself.
Okay, do I hear that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution, what's the number again?
2019-7.
2019-7, and to approve the KMEA contract upon approval by JR.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, it's been moved by Amanda and second by Larry, all in favor? Approved.
So I would just have the mayor sign that.
Oh, do we have to vote on that resolution?
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay. Cale? Roger,
Yes.
Dara,
Yes.
and Larry.
Yes.
Pass. Okay, the next item on there is the street project.
So we just got the PER, the preliminary engineering report, late this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to review it. I didn't bother even printing it out. Basically, all that does is go through the entire process of what we're doing. It's part of the requirement for the CDBG grant. I'll read through it in detail. It specifies the streets, the reasoning, the criteria used, and it's all in long word engineer form, but it's got pictures and everything of the streets we're doing. I just thumbed through it really quick to say I looked it over once he called in. So that document will be approved and forwarded with stuff that has to be there November 1, I think is the deadline.
I think that is due sometime in August, the PPR.
That's right, that one is due right away. But yeah, we did just get it. So obviously, it's just part of our process. It does describe everything we've already done, so upon approval, I would assume I can just okay that to go forward. There's no monetary associated to it. It's just part of our process. So.
I saw there was corn the other day.
You saw what?
The guys were corn the other day.
Did they get started on it? Good,
Yeah.
good. I'm sure they got it done in the same day. That is referenced in this PR that they would do more detailed, specific street information once those core samples were received. That's pretty much it. I think we're all on time. We have some public meeting stuff for CDBG.
Just one, yeah, and I'm not sure when that is yet. Probably in September.
And my understanding from talking to Lila is we do have one protest.
One protest, but that won't be enough to do anything.
So was there any request made based on that protest, or just simply protesting the fact that the city is doing this? What was the formality of it?
So I don't know, well, I do know. When she turned it in, I was on vacation, so she talked to Mike. But I do know when they requested the protest, it was Bexley, and she's the one that's most heavily monetarily impacted, plus the tree. And that was the basis for them asking for the protest. Was the cost and the tree. But I did explain to them that they would need to get at least one other neighbor on the block to sign a protest, and it doesn't look like that happened, because hers was the only one that was turned in, so.
I don't know what else. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think it'd be a good idea to have another townhouse meeting. I've had several people say that they couldn't attend this last one, but I think it'd help us even a little more with transparency. To sit down, if there's more people that have questions, or if we need to explain things a little bit further. I'd highly like to see that happen.
Could that be incorporated in that CDBG required one?
I don't know why it
I would
couldn't
think
be.
it could be, and let's do a meeting where that's all it is, and that way they, potentially. I mean, that's what we did before when we did the EMS building. It was a meeting that was only for that thing. Everybody got aired out, and yeah, it wasn't a lot of fun in some cases, but it does give everybody the opportunity to
I think we got a lot of questions answered and had a lot of good comments and everything, but I still think there's more people out there that are asking questions. And the better informed we can get people, I think, the more power, or the more it would help us out.
Well, especially the ones that don't realize eventually it might be their streets next. And then they'll be wondering, well, what's going on? Well,
Now, the way I understand it, the residents were informed of what.
specifically
Yeah,
to the dollar.
and so now might be a good time to do it.
Yeah. The one thing I would ask is how do we respond to this individual protest? And we obviously know they didn't meet the criteria for stopping the work for being done. Do we simply respond that this is the criteria we're moving forward on, or do you feel did they understand that at the?
I haven't talked to him, and Mike felt like tonight we didn't need to take any action on that right now, because like you said, it didn't meet the criteria, so I'll talk to Mike and see.
And there was a deadline on protest period as well, yes, that is passed?
Yes, it was Thursday at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so essentially, okay.
But she was aware that we would stand the cost of the tree.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it was just the fact of the tree going away and the overall cost for her curb and gutter. those two factors.
Honestly, I'm surprised that's the only one, but it's not surprising it is that one for the simple fact of if you bought that house, you bought it for that tree, and frankly, that
Where is-
curb and gutter's gone from point A to point B on that property.
Where is that?
Right across from, the name used to be a Milliken House.
Holstrom.
Holstrom.
Gary Holstrom.
Just a corner from
Right.
the,
Yeah.
There's the Uplinger House.
Good.
We're street now. I mean, really, seriously, for an in middle of town street, that is like the worst section, right? That intersection in that street. And the worst curb and gutter. Okay, well, if he didn't think we needed to take any action, I guess there's no reason to take any stand on this.
I think he may want to, he'll look into it, I think, and then let us know what we need to do. But
That's it on the streets then. I think we're moving forward as needed. We'll find out about incorporating a public meeting with that CDBG public meeting. I'm sure you can do that. It's a public meeting.
Yeah.
We'll get them both out of the way.
I'll call Justine and just make sure.
And I've got one other question, and it's just a question. With the way the county's done some of this chip sealing, is that anything that could be done on some of these dirt streets, or is it simply going to wash away? I don't understand.
Okay, so we've done one street where it was asphalt. You have to have some kind of base to put underneath it, whether it be millings or a street that you grind up. So that there needs to be a tremendously firm base to chip seal over, like they did at the county road going out. That had
Yeah.
millings on it first. Dirt, it will not work. It
Okay.
will not work.
Okay.
As far as, we wouldn't want to put it on dirt. I mean, we have so much surfacing right now. As far as management, I think it would be really counterproductive to add.
I just didn't know how that worked.
Yeah.
And
It
the
works
road-
in several different ways.
Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
The road got kind of off of Majestic there, that
Mhm.
got washed away last time, or
Mhm.
so I've heard.
Yeah.
Is that a result of anything to do with the changing of the water flow
No,
there?
that is where it should go.
Okay.
Basically, what happened was we had gotten to the point where we was going to assist the Erskines in removing the culverts. The
Mhm.
storm last night did all of it, and spit them right out. Tremendous
They
amount of water
blew the
came out.
culverts out?
Yes, it did.
Uh,
In doing so, there was enough of a blockage in the actual waterway that it got out into the street. Now that those are gone, we'll be able to improve that ditch. Yes, it's always going to cut, and in these tremendous storms, it's still going to cut it out, because a lot of that water comes off the Homestead parking lot. But yeah, the problem was enhanced, one, by the extreme rain, and two, by the culverts actually being hung up in the drainage where the water needs to move the fastest. So that was that. But yeah, in the worst and the heaviest of the rain, the water was making the corner. There wasn't any water from the highway runoff that made it towards ASCS office. If they had any issue at all, it was based on parking lot area. So that problem is solved at this point. If we can get that kind of rain and have no run over from that point, I think we've covered.
Would Rick Rapp help in that first block, I guess, from where those culverts were?
There is some. So now that we've gotten back to the box culvert, that'll change, and I think that's something we'll have to work on over time. One, you've got to get it low enough from the street without keeping it cutting. You got to get it to the right level. But yeah, there already is some large chunks of concrete in the upper part of it. Once you get down to the flat, you don't want to slow it down so much. But yes, I think we'll be looking at that. Now that we have the waterway back to the way it was, we can be looking at the erosion.
Blow those culverts in.
Yep. A lot of water. One final thing while I'm thinking about this, just because you're going to be contacting Justine, the tree removal. Tyler Homer with Miller & Associates, I just talked to him just a little bit before the meeting. We was talking about the tree removal. He wanted her intake on that, whether we could incorporate it in where it's matched money to cover the trees. The city said we would cover it, but he said he put money into this for tree removal. So he's thinking we need to incorporate that into this, which would mean a bid process and those kind of things, rather than the city just paying full amount out of pocket.
So we can use it for matching funds on the
Yes.
grant.
Yep, yeah. So we don't be paying, in theory, half of what it would
Right.
cost to remove them. So if you'd find out what her take on it would be, if she has any questions, just call me.
Okay.
Or Tyler, either one. And that's all I have on the streets.
Okay, let's move on to the electrical infrastructure project.
So at the last meeting, I'm not positive we had this information, so I'm just going to repeat it. I forwarded that we did want to go through with the process on feeders 1 and 3. I didn't have a schedule on that at the last meeting, did I? I didn't, a revised one? Okay. So it actually went out for bid on August 5 because I authorized it. The bid opening at the RVW's office will be September 4. The bid award would be on the September 9 council meeting. Contractor obtained material September to December. Construction on feeder 3, which is our primary part of that, proposed to begin February 14th of, December 9th of 2010. December 9th to February 14th. And then if the feeder 1, which is our contingent area, would, then that would start shortly thereafter as a second project. One would be completed for the other one, so that would pick up right after. So that's the proposed timeline. It's already out to the bidders. It'll be just a matter of material and whether they get the material sooner or not, and what our prices are. So that is in motion.
Hope it comes in at that price we want.
We'll just have to deal with those
Yeah.
monetary items as they come.
Okay, next item is property cleanup.
We don't have any updates. I know I mentioned the last one that I needed to get with Mike. I didn't get with him before I got out of town. Now he's gone, so we'll get caught up to him and get back to the ones that we'd already, the one that we was already concerned with. And I'm sure he wants to add.
Now we've been worried about it, nice getting cleaned up.
Mostly, yes. Yeah, that tax sale did it quite a bit. I mean, really did that cleared some things up.
The wheat
Some.
problem, probably a big deal, with all the humidity and moisture and stuff, there's several places that got some pretty tall weeds.
Yeah, the general cleanup, the cleanup aside from the legal cleanup side, the city cleanup, what do you do? I mean, it seems to be to put all the day after with the heat and everything, but.
Speaking of that, what about the hotel and motel spot? As far as getting the big weeds controlled up against the buildings, it's off of our property.
It's off of our property?
Or isn't all?
That's kind of that's kind of a weird deal. I'm not really sure how to deal with that, because we've been mowing, knocking it down with them, the given perimeter, and the property lines are, like, it's banked right up to that area, so I don't know whether we know better for them to take care of them, or offer to take care of it. The problem is erosion, because those things drop off like the bat. Kill them, I'm a little bit worried about doing anything with it until we figure out a direction for it. I realize it doesn't look good, but that's kind of why I was thinking, sterilize it to begin with, but erosion can be an issue because it drops so quickly.
Into their buildings?
We could certainly send that. There maybe, I mean, it's weird though, 'cause there's like 4 feet of property there. I mean, it's so tight up against it, I don't want to touch it.
Are they thinking it's ours?
Can a guy just cut them off, say 8-10 inches high, and leave the root part in there, and just let the rest of it fall down in there, because that would still help.
Do we want to offer to do that then? I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at, is it's on that side of the property line, and yeah, it is.
I don't know what's doing it myself, just to look a little bit.
I'm going to look at where the property line is, get
Right,
a little
just-
more clear, because I've told them just get as close as you can.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
I don't know what we would have that would just cut them off,
We've got those weed eaters with the little metal blades on them. I mean, it's a lot of work, but they'll cut those. We've got small trees. So I'll look at it a little closer, but I just been having a bit of close look at it.
But I agree with you, the washout, if a guy,
I don't want to cause problems.
if you pulled them out by the roots and took the roots and everything, then it could wash out.
Okay. I'll get a look at it a little closer, and see if we can do more with it.
Okay, I guess the next item is project pending. Hawk hasn't moved that
Not
awning out there yet, has he?
No. 2 weeks.
He's supposed to do sewer work for me. I said, oh yeah, it's 2-week Brock.
Anything there that we need to, just,
I think we can take the curb and gutter off that thing, don't you? I mean, I think we've established, if we're gonna do that with this project, I think that's establishing the way forward.
and by having that meeting again, to just let people know that the curb is their responsibility. You know, a lot of people don't believe that. And no matter how many people you tell, the group that was in here finally, hopefully realized it, but there's that group out there that still don't know that. So,
You know, Larry, I drove by, and I'm not throwing this on you, the rec committee, but the volleyball court,
Needs work? Okay.
I don't know what to do. What I was relating it to is, used to be old property. You decided that would not work, right?
You'd have to go north and south to make it work, and
Oh, really?
yeah, there's not enough length to get an actual, well, it's too thin on the deep end. It wouldn't be wide enough to put a cord in there, but if you could flip it, but you'd have to fill everything in somehow, and then,
You're doing more work than if you had nothing there.
Yeah.
I did have an inquiry to the old pool, somebody wants to look at it. I have no idea if we go anywhere, but somebody did finally step forward and said they wanted to look at it. So, I was just checking with them this week.
have we had any interest or anything come back on the motel property? Any movement at all?
Not that I've
just
heard.
slightly. Slightly. Real slightly. We're hoping. Talk some more. Okay, Keller Pond Committee report.
Brock has gotten the railings and fence put in on the north side where the ADA parking is done. He's got all that, got some poles or posts from, I think they come from the amusement authority. And he's gonna put them in, it looks really nice. Other than that, things look like they're in pretty good shape. More levels come up since the running.
As it relates to the work being done out there, this is the second time work has been done that was not authorized and then put on my letter to write grant. I did talk to Brock, the contractor, and say, don't do any other work unless we authorize it, or he can take, it's just a matter of process. It should be coming here to the meeting and okayed before it's just assumed that we're going to approach that with money.
Are you talking about the posts?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was part of it.
No, that was a separate building, so that got done again that way. And so I went to Brock this time and just said that, you know, any other work you do, you may be at risk of payment because it's just not
I
our
thought that
process.
was part of the grant process, or part of the phase.
No, and I just got the bill for that from Brock, and it's $4,300 for that work.
To putting the posts in?
The labor and the material for the posts.
That's very problematic, just the process. Again, if the city says, yes, we want to do that on the improved property, and the price is given, and then
I
okay.
guess I totally missed the boat on that, because I thought that was part of the ADA deal.
No, the ADA parking didn't, that was not covered.
Oh.
Lila called me, I was like, all right, just make a call here, because we got to quit doing that from behind. That's authorizing.
And Tom hasn't spoken to me about this at all, so I'm assuming he wants me to apply, or thinks that I should apply for another grant and that the funds will be there. And I guess if that's what you guys want me to do, that's what I'll do. We did get approval for the other one.
We just will apply for a grant and see what happens.
Shoot, I didn't know that.
Everybody agrees with that, don't they? Apply for a grant, see if it helps pay for that stuff.
Not them sending it.
Yeah.
Do what?
But did ask him how
Well,
we're paying for it.
I guess that's my concern, is if we apply for a grant and the grant doesn't go through.
Well, that's why I said, Brock, and I wasn't rude, I just said, this is really backward, this is way too handshaky. We need to be going through the correct process for doing the improvements, and he knew that Tom had authorized it. So I said, don't do that.
Well, that's the second
We don't
one
want
that
to,
Tom's
yeah,
did.
exactly. And that's fine, there's money available, but he shouldn't be spending that without that board's approval either. It's all wrong. Do a process.
What happened to the board?
To the what?
The board?
Tom, happened to the board?
No.
Oh, I'm just
The board that was appointed by the city council of Brock, you, Dave Fleming.
As far as,
Why aren't you guys aware of all this stuff?
like I said, I thought it was part of the grant. That was my understanding.
Did Tom say that?
I didn't hear anything about that from Tom,
About the rails?
about the rails. Like I said, I thought it was part of the 88 parking lot.
And I'm not throwing anything
I
on you.
know.
That's
I,
already been, paid for and quoted.
It's no different than the shade structure that was going in out there. We didn't authorize that. Tom said, go ahead and do it without having the funds locked down. And we got caught behind the scenes by having to apply for a grant. Is that my understanding?
Yes, and that's the same thing with this.
And the ADA parking area, the concrete was part of the original
Yes.
project. That was part of the fund, the adding of the rail was the same thing as the shade structure. It's like, here, just do that while you're here.
I just wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's
So we've
all.
talked to him about this?
I haven't talked to him yet, and he hasn't contacted me, but I will.
Maybe before we, maybe if he was thinking the city was,
I'll
or
call-
who was paying for it, I guess.
I'll call him.
You call him?
But I know what Tom's doing. Brock was there. Well, while you're here, let's
Do
get
it.
this poured now too.
And that's exactly what Brock told me too.
And Brock did come in and draw me a picture, and I think he might have taken a
Taken
copy
them all, yeah.
and showed me what he wanted to do with these posts that he had. I said, yeah, that looks like that would be great, but, that needs to be approved. I guess I should have said it needs to be approved by the council. I don't know.
Well, the board needs to approve it and then bring it to the council and.
Yeah,
And
the
then.
process.
Yeah, there you go, the process, yeah. Okay, anything else on the bill?
Sorry about that. I figured you was aware that that happened right before we left.
Did they put some stuff in that one washout area that was back over there on that?
He put a little bit in
north
there.
side?
He did, I bet it's gone. I mean, I haven't been out there today, but.
I haven't been out there for a while.
He did put some
He did
concrete
put a
chunk
little
in
bit
there.
in there.
I must have got to him, because he did put some chunks in there.
Yeah, he intends, from my understanding, he intends to put more concrete, leftover stuff that he has, and then when he gets it.
Good, because that'll hold.
Wet concrete, indefinite?
Well, I assume it's concrete block or.
Yeah, just
Oh,
the rip.
I think
Just-
chunks and
It's
stuff.
just gonna cave in on those roots and that beaver system that's back in there. It'll take time, but if they just keep throwing chunks on it, it'll settle into it.
Sunny, see that?
Okay, do your motion to accept and file the Keller Pond report.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Darrell, all in favor. Okay, theater report. Anything?
I can't think of much, can you, Lila? They did hire a new employee.
Yeah.
They didn't get any bids on the minor repairs, and they thought they would wait till this fall when temperature gets colder, they might have better luck getting contractors looking for inside work. They did point out a good process, I guess, what the school does when they have projects put out for bid. They just go ahead and send a letter with a spec sheet to contractors in town. So maybe something the city could look at doing in the future as far as, instead of just putting an ad in the paper and hoping people will respond, go ahead and send the spec sheets out so they've got it.
What do they need done?
There was a couple of spots on the walls that the plaster needed patched. They were gonna paint the flooring behind the concessions because it looked kind of bad. And then tough and clean the men's restroom.
Yeah.
So just
Just minor stuff,
stuff.
but, And I have the spec sheet here, I did find it,
Okay.
that he sent me, but,
Are we getting decent attendance? Anybody know?
here
It was
recently,
pretty good
yeah.
this last,
Lion King,
Lion
kid,
King,
I
yeah.
even went.
Yeah,
I think with the movies that have been out, that's it.
yeah,
Better movies have run in, better crowds, so.
yeah.
They called for sandbags last night. All the vehicles were sitting there, so they're just pushing the water. It's like, move the vehicle.
all you gotta do is
I got them moved,
back
and
them up 2
then
foot.
it wasn't as bad, but yeah, they were calling for sandbags last night. They were all out there sweeping the water, and the vehicles were all just sitting there pushing the water.
Maybe you should drop some cones off of his, chance of
Yeah.
heavy rains and everything cones off up there.
It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, Okay, motion to accept and file the theater report.
So moved.
Moved by Larry,
Second.
second by Roger, all in favor. Pool report.
Our closing date was last Friday, August 9th, because we didn't have enough personnel to carry any further out through the year. That's about the only update that I have, but I would like to request about 10 minutes of executive session to discuss non-elected personnel for the swimming pool.
For, what's the topic?
Um,
Performance,
Personnel and performance. I don't really have any other.
How'd the pool do on revenue and stuff? Do you know?
we won't know until, give us about another 2 weeks, and then we'll pay the final bills and stuff. Probably the first meeting in September, everything will be paid, and all the revenue will be accounted for, and we'll have a good picture. Give it to Larry.
That sounds good.
You don't want to know what that is. Okay, motion to accept and file the pool report.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Cale, all in favor. Approved building permits. Superintendent report.
So, the Dave Yost Airport addition is finally done as far as city utilities. That fiasco never did end until the end. When it was found that the utilities we placed there couldn't be there, we had the transformer for about a week. All Dave would say was they couldn't figure out what to do with it. He just wanted me to come up with an answer. So I went and met with Richard Grace. We measured it, and the things could stay where they were after a 2-week waiting period of cussing back and forth and things. So we did place the transformer. They are in service, and I would reiterate again the city's position on doing a project of that scale without a general contractor or a plan. That is, time-wise, it's just been overwhelming how much time has been spent on that. It's been ridiculous. So.
What was the stick-up with the location?
The flags that David placed for the water and the electricity to be terminated were a given distance off of a taxiway that was later be extended. It was determined by him and somebody else by opinion that it couldn't be there. I think he was told it couldn't be there. That it had to be moved. So when he had no plan, I went up to measure and understand why, where it did need to be, why it couldn't be where he put the flags. And met with Richard Grace. We measured it. We sent that information into Olson and Associates, which is the engineering firm that has done all the work for the airport, and they approved it by about 5 feet that it was in fact far enough away. So I informed Dave that it could in fact stay there, and he was just happy, tippy-go-lucky. Thanks, look it up, and on we go.
So there was a rule about how far it had to be from a taxiway?
A given
basically?
height. It's just an
Yeah.
obstruction in an unlit area.
Makes sense.
It's something where a plan would have known it was in the right or the wrong place
Right.
instead of setting on it and then blaming and pointing fingers on it. It's the things that go along with that. But
Yeah.
it was a simple thing to measure it, send it in to find out where it should be, and found out it was okay where it was at. Again, it just makes things very difficult.
Yeah.
We are starting to drain the pool. We started that today. get that thing emptied out and cleaned up. Of course, the water leak on the river, those things always happen when I leave town. They got it patched up, I think, about 5:15 on Friday. Anyway, that worked out fairly well. Another point where the isolation valves probably didn't quite isolate it, but at least it did enough. We didn't have to shut down town. They did a good job getting that thing taken care of. One happened kind of quick. Dan said he seen water coming up in the grass in the lot, pulled up to observe it, blew up through the asphalt while he was there, so it's kind of interesting. Anyway, I think that was, about 1 o'clock? When he called, and by 5 o'clock they had it fixed. So that worked good. I was in New Mexico, so. Was it? Was it? Good. Anyway, electrical outage last night, obviously storm related. It was sunflower that went out. It was once it got in the Atwood area, they did not know. In fact, we still don't know exactly what happened. They tried going back on. We put engines on without, with them not knowing a time frame or anything, as we would normally do. We did, in the process of doing that, have to shut down while generating. That's what the second outage was. We had an engine overheat. We're going to be doing some testing on that. We think, associated with the boiler and whatnot, that we maybe had an airlock. We was running 2 engines. One of them heated up, not dangerously, but it heated up to the point where we had to take the town out and start over. And we were just getting ready to put the town back on the generators when Sunflower called. That's why we had the secondary outage, was at the power plant to keep from damaging equipment. We'll be investigating that. Hopefully it's, be it a pump or an airlock or something. Hopefully we can get a handle on what caused that. But we don't believe there was any damage to it. Guys did, as always, a great job of chasing around and making sure everything gets safely done. It takes time to get that stuff up. Get in a rush, that's when stuff goes bad. As far as the lights going out again, that's just part of protecting the investment of keeping the lights on. So, a good job of getting that on and keeping it safe. So, worked out well from our perspective. It might be inconvenient from the customer side, but that's just what it takes.
Better than that would.
What's that?
Better than that would.
Absolutely. And in fact, better than Berryland, for that matter, because they were out for 2
They were out for what?
2 hours.
Oh.
Is that
They're
bad?
still out now.
Oh, they're still out.
They were at 5:30.
Are they just about to go back on?
Midwest lost 8 poles, and they were just finishing, I read like 2 hours ago, they were finishing up,
So,
Berlin lost.
So even at their inconvenience, they certainly keep it, they minimize it.
Pictures of what, south and west of that would. Took out pictures.
Serious wind in other places. I thought it was really fortunate for the storm, the way it ripped through. I thought that was held together quite well. Different each time, depending on the direction of the wind. That's actually all I've got on that part of last week, so unless somebody's got something going. I will be sweeping Main Street tomorrow night. There's just so much debris. I'm not waiting until Thursday. It's a lot of debris with those cars. You got to see that. If you guys notice that when you leave today, from those vehicles sitting there, the gravel is not that deep in the gutter. It just
In
drifted.
front of the theater?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy how much is there. I've never seen that much of them there.
Okay, do your motion to accept and file the superintendent report?
So moved.
Moved by Derek,
Second.
second by Cale, all in favor of approve. And clerk report?
I just got a few things. So the council approved, when I was talking about time cards, and you all approved setting a deadline, which I did, and you also approved not paying until the following payroll if the time card's not turned in. Come to find out, thanks to Dan, that's actually against the law. The Fair Labor Standards Act, and I did call the Kansas Department of Labor and confirm this, you can't do that. You have to pay an employee on every regularly scheduled pay date whatever it is that they are expected to work. Their expected hours, how did they word it? The wages that we reasonably know are due. So most of JR's employees, that would be an 80-hour work week.
You adjust it after the fact.
80-hour pay period, sorry, 40-hour work week. Well, except for Dan, no. And then our part-time people, it would be basically an average of what they've done. And so I need the motion to go ahead and use the deadline, I guess, that I've already got established, but to pay just a normal, I don't even know how to word that, maybe
The generally expected,
wage, yes, for maybe
Based on their hours?
hours normally worked.
And then you just
yes.
adjust it to fall in the pay.
Exactly. If they had sick or vacation or any exceptions, then those could be applied on the next, or overtime on the next one. So,
So if that's the law, then why do you need a motion? Wouldn't you just follow the law?
well, we made a motion the last time
Oh, we
to
made
do
a
it
motion.
break the
differently.
law.
Oh,
We
we
made a motion.
break the law.
And thank you to Dan,
Okay.
because he came in shortly after and he said, I don't think you can do that. Because he'd found something online, and he's absolutely right. We cannot do that. So I guess just make the motion to establish a deadline for time card submission, and that if they're not turned in on time, that you would be paid your normal wage, and exceptions would be made on the next payroll. And I think that would cover it. And probably what I'll do is write this up. We do need to make some changes to our personnel policies anyway. There's a few things that we've changed since we adopted our last policy. So we're going to need to update our personnel policies anyway. So I will write this up for our policy, and you can approve that as well. But if you wouldn't mind doing that.
Okay, I hear a motion to change from what we had to the new motion to pay them their regular wage, and if they have overtime or whatever, we adjust it at the next pay schedule.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. I'll make that motion.
Okay. Been moved by Roger, second by Cal, all in favor? Okay.
All right. We did get the grant from the Greater Northwest Kansas Community Foundation for the concrete out at Keller Pond for the Van Allen shade structure. That was the grant that it was for $3,984. So I would like to request a motion to go ahead and pay Brock as soon as those funds are received.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved by Larry, second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved.
I have somewhere here 2 band shell rentals. One is for the Lutheran Church, Pastor Nelson. They would like to have a church in the park on September 8th, and they would be using the band shell and the electricity, and they are requesting waiver of the rental fee. And I also have one for Scott for Biketemberfest. This is September 21st, and also they are requesting to have the rental fees waived.
We waive rental fees for both of those.
Okay, it's been moved by Dara, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved.
Okay. And the millings. Can you?
So, we authorized having the county very frankly put all of our millings up there on the property, but they used everything we had. And there was some good millings that was available from the state, so I had them haul a bunch of us here. It was inside. I'm not sure if I mentioned it to Scott or not, but we needed to replace what we have for patching our own stuff. I don't remember what the cost was. I just told him I wanted as many loads as we could get while they was hauling it in for themselves to have it available to us. So whatever the amount of that is.
$1,071.70.
Very cheap for, they're hauling it for us, but yeah.
Just need a motion for
We
that.
need a motion to approve the
So
millings. Moved by Amanda,
Sorry.
second by Larry, all in favor? Approved.
And then I'm going to hand these around because I thought you guys might get a kick out of seeing this. I keep track of all of the roadside park reservations and where people are from, and it's kind of interesting to see. We just got this came from dispatch. Somebody called and talked to dispatch, and his name was Jay Heineman. This was on July 26th. He wanted to let the city of St. Francis know that he was camping at the roadside park, wanted them to know how much he appreciated the clean bathroom, the warm shower, cleanliness of the park, friendliness of the city residents, and he was from Estes Park. So anyway, this is just, they come from a long ways away.
Comments, Ruthie?
Well, that started the whole thing, right?
When was that?
What's that?
When was that? Was that just real recent?
The letter,
Yeah.
July 26th. That's all I have.
Kudos. Not, hats off to JR and kind of overseeing, making sure things are up to speed up there and cleaned up and everything. I mean, it's looked really good, except for a couple of the issues that we've had.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's dramatically improved.
Oh, yeah, putting that buildings around there just changed the whole stuff.
Boy, no kidding.
Just changed it.
That's nice. And I even appreciate the part that they did, they came back later and did the, right there where you turn off the highway and go by the museum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They did the whole front thing in front of the museum and then part of it in front of the EMS building.
yeah.
Keeping up on the mowing, keeping up on the cleaning, and then putting the millings in made a huge difference up there.
Okay, is that all you have?
That's all I have.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the Iowa clerk report?
So moved.
Moved by Dara, second by Cale, all in favor, approved. Okay, council comments. Cale.
I only have two things that people have come up and asked me. Well, one of them I just heard today about the stop sign on the street, about keeping that out during the school year.
I've had that request as well.
Yeah.
In the same place?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or even put more up,
Like
anywhere near the
schools.
schools. Like, I don't know, I couldn't do it, I guess. That'd be better.
Other than when we get snow, that'd be
Well, yeah.
fun, but
Yeah.
other than that.
Yeah. Do we have any more of those things? Stop
We
signs?
make them.
You make
The
them?
pedestals and stuff.
Okay. So it wouldn't cost much to put up a couple more?
Where would you think to put more?
Well,
Just curious. We have stop signs. I think that's the only one missing around.
I guess you're right, that is the only one that we're missing.
I have had them ask about putting them in the others where we do have stop signs, though, to where they're a little more prevalent.
Oh, during the busy time when you can't
Yeah.
see the stop signs?
Right.
Yeah.
That would make some sense.
There's, what is
Yeah.
it, Francis, and then at the west side.
Denison.
Denison.
The one issue I would have with that is when the people park on both sides, is there room for one to be in the middle?
Oh, yeah.
That would be a problem on either side, I think, might be into it.
I think it helped when you guys, last year, we kind of mentioned it, we went and trimmed tree branches away and stuff. But I know up there on Francis Street, when you're coming from the south, and the vehicles are parked there by Neil's house, it's hard to see that stop sign. But people should know.
Yeah.
Well, people are not that bright.
Do we want to just leave that one out then?
Yeah.
On Main Street?
What about on Spencer? Like, a lot of kids are crossing Spencer and cars are barreling up and down that. Right on those two streets.
They go to
with
the
Grace
backside of the
School.
school.
Yeah, the backside of
Drive-
the school.
Yeah, Grace School.
Spencer might be wide.
Yeah,
We
sure.
don't have a crosswalk in the paper.
What's that?
We don't have a crosswalk in the paper.
No.
What about the water obstacle?
But they are coming down those
Yeah.
streets by Carlo Lampage and
Yeah.
in there too.
Yeah. And then that guy talked to me about a late fee he got when he didn't, I believe his daughter got it when her mom was in the hospital. And she couldn't get back here to pay her bill. I was wondering if, do we have anything like exceptions for situations like that when someone is about to die and can't make it back to pay a utility bill and get
Yeah.
charged $20?
If they call and explain what's going on, and then we contact the mayor, and he can make that decision. But if they don't call,
Even
I got
after the
that one,
fact,
too.
can we do something about it, even though it's after the fact? Because I don't know, I can't imagine if I was in that position, if I'd be sitting there thinking, oh, I better call the city office for my utility bill when my family member's dying. I don't know. Just
I
my
think
thought.
Jen has some input on that particular situation.
Yeah.
It's not as clear cut as what it's being made out to be.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are the only two things.
Is it the one I moved till today from the pay?
Oh, no, this is a different one.
Oh, okay. Did the one get paid today?
Yes, yes. I mean, we do try to work with people when situations like that happen. We absolutely do. But if we don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
but there was, I don't remember, talk to Jen, and she can give you the information. I wish I'd known you were going to bring it up. I would have got the information from her.
Okay. Well, I can ask her tomorrow and
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we do have, I mean, we call, if somebody calls and they have reason, then we call the mayor and he makes that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got.
Amanda? Roger?
I'm not giving up on Anderson. And Rick Bellinger contacted me at the end of last month and said on August 1st he was going to meet with KDOT. I saw him at the Jerry Moran deal last Monday, and he said that he said I'm still working on it. They assured me that they were trying to find the funds to fix it. And then also on the 29th, I'm going to be in Hayes, and I think JR mentioned he might go down to meet with DOT at a meeting down there. That's a little closer to home. It's Jeff Winter. He seems to be that when we was working at it from this end, going to St. Francis, and then Atwood, and then to Norton. He's the guy in Norton. He was the dead end there. And so I don't know, kind of working back in Topeka, and then maybe we'll have some luck with him.
Monday,
Good. Yeah.
Do you want me to send the information? Oh, I'm sorry.
Huh?
I was just going to ask, do you want me to send that information about that meeting on the 29th out to everybody again?
Sure. It's 9 o'clock at Fort Hayes at the Union on the 29th.
You're taking documentation,
Pardon?
you're taking documentation down there as far as pictures and
They
stuff
probably
like
got all the deal, but I'm sure
I
that
was gonna
between
say, I
JR
would
and I,
take
we
it-
can,
I
we
would
can
take
take
it again just to-
the
yeah.
pictures again. I
Yeah.
wish we could do a PowerPoint.
I'll just take a projector.
Yeah. It was funny at the parade. I know he caught my eye. And he did wave at me, but then he couldn't run away from me Monday.
I ran across the street to Roger and said, "Hey, why did you jump at Bellinger when he was driving down the street and say something to him?" But you'd already found out by then, or you'd already talked to him by then.
Yeah.
Okay, Derek?
I don't have any.
Derek?
Um,
Okay, I need about, no, it won't take 5 minutes, executive session for personnel.
For topic, we have to have a
Just
topic.
resigning.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and look at the bills on ordinance 1029, and then we'll go into executive session.
Hey, Dan.
See you. See you, Dan.
Bye.
Thanks.
Dan?
come in.
Sarah, do you want to take these that I already printed on that KMEA? Let's see. There's like 2 masters of this one and then this one, and I think there's probably someplace on there the mayor has to sign to, I'm not sure.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a,
They are.
or 2 of them. I don't know whether they are or not.
We see them bigger, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that?
No, it. Amanda, we have to have a meeting again, our Main Street.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I believe it's Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Roger's giving us
I thought it was funny because I didn't get it at first. Somebody might have.
Yeah, I have it for the 14th.
14? Okay.
That's Wednesday.
JR, are they still doing the new trucks with hill trash, that whole deal?
Most likely.
Where were we on that?
There's no further, he just wanted to let me know that they were looking at trucks at that time.
Okay.
But, yeah,
Think that'd be this year when they start that new?
I couldn't say, because he was finding out that the actual containers we had worked with these specific trucks, and he was checking on the price, and just wanted to let us know,
Yeah.
maybe sooner rather than later. That was the last conversation we had, so.
It just amazes me that they reach in and grab some of them bags. Some of them bags are loaded.
Yeah.
And how in the world do they lift them out of there without them tearing?
Oh, they don't pick
They
the
don't
whole
lift
thing
them.
up and dump it?
They haven't
No,
for a long time.
people run ahead and take them out.
They pull the bags out.
They have that as more efficient than bringing it around and tipping it. It's the strangest thing I ever seen. They got started doing it that way. Now they're gonna go back to tipping or not actually.
But it's gonna be probably one of those trucks with the side arm.
Yeah.
Where it picks it up off the side and up.
Yep.
Yep.
This Aldersside bill that's in here, is that for the stuff you went and got?
This would be later. I wouldn't do that then.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
With having had it started, we had to stay out the whole
Okay.
time, and I don't know if we get paid for it.
Yeah, I think so. Not gonna know until you get the water.
Exactly, and the cleanliness, you would know how much of it is, I don't know, we just kept putting it in there to make sure that it wasn't continuing, because it's not, the only thing it does is mess with the pH a little bit, just having the temperature down, that was regulatable. That, we want to experiment with that next year, first of the year. It sure was complimentary every day, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Is there any questions on any of the bills? agenda.
Second.